Hey road trippers, how is everybody doing? I hope you're all doing really well. I see a lot of you have watched my taxes live stream. A lot of you watched it afterwards, which is great. And so today, because of all of my subscribers that I've gotten, it's been craziness. And I've had a lot of the same questions asked of me. So today we're going to have Driveaway FAQs, frequently asked questions. That's what we're doing today, and I hope we do get some viewers in. Did this thing not go live? Hang on just a minute. I think we went dead. Oh, it's still live. Okay. Sorry, had a little scare there for just a second. So today we are going to be doing the FAQs, and if nobody shows up, this will be a very short video. We'll just go through those real quick. If after I've put up all these, go ahead and leave something in the chat, and we will get to your question afterwards at the end. Ooh, I have one person watching. So today our very first question that I get all the time, and I've actually answered it several times in a couple different videos, but we're putting all of these in one place. Question number one, do I need a CDL? No, you do not need to have one. I recommend it because you will make more money if you do have a CDL, but no, you do not need a CDL. What you do need is a valid driver's license. I think you need, depending on the company, you need to be minimum of age 21. Maybe even 25, depending on the company. You also have to have a good driving record, and you have to be what they call insurable. As case in point, if you've had multiple accidents and you've been at fault for those accidents, you may not be insurable, but you can always ask and find out. So basically, no, you don't need a CDL, but yes, you may want to have a CDL, because with a CDL, you can get more money because you can get bigger runs, you can get CDL runs. For Bennett Driveaway, I believe they do require the CDL because they have those kinds of vehicles. So I hope that answered that question. So the answer is no, you don't need one. Did I say that enough times? So the next question that I get, how much money can I make? Well, you can make $0 because if you don't do any runs, you won't make any money. And it's actually, this is a very loaded question because it depends on how much you want to work. Now, do not, and I never ever condone doing double logbooks, even triple logbooks I've heard of, and that just totally befuddles me why you would do that, except that you want to work more, but you're actually driving unsafe. If you drive with one logbook legally at all times, you can make a reasonable amount of money. You are never, ever, ever going to get rich doing Driveaway. Don't think about it that way. Think of it as a fun job. You can do it as a retirement job. You can do, it's a fun. I did it in my early 20s, and I also did it just a few years ago. So I've done it, and I've made, a long time ago, it's really bad. This would be a bad example, but back then, when I was hustling, I made about $25,000 a year. I think that would be more closer to about $40,000 or maybe $50,000 this year or this time. That money might be up to that high. Now this year, or the last time I drove, I was making, not hustling too hard, and I was making around 40, maybe 50,000. Now keep in mind, people say, oh, but that's how, this and that. They say, well, that's how much you make before expenses. Yes and no. Not after I did my taxes, I was around the 35,000 mark, roughly, in that general range. Because you get so many tax deductions, which, again, watch the other video I did, and that'll tell you about the tax deductions, about mileage, fuel, blah, blah, blah. All those tax deductions, so you take those out. And it's also pre-tax because you are a contractor. You have to pay your own taxes. The checks you get, they don't just take the taxes out, so you have to put your money aside for taxes. And people say, well, how does that compare to other jobs? Well, when you get a salary on another job, they say they're going to pay you $50,000 a year. That's usually pre-tax money, right? They don't tell you how much they're going to pay you after taxes because everybody's taxes are different. So I've heard that you can make, and I didn't work hard enough to get this route. I've heard some people make $75,000, and that's for Driveaway. I question that. I do question that. I'm thinking, if you try really hard, if you work really hard, I think you can push out 60,000. That's if you don't go home. Now, there's a lot of people that live on the road and they live to drive and they don't have a home. They have like an address set up. That's another story altogether. But they work all the time. So if you are working like that, yeah, you can make good money and your expenses are even lower because you don't have rent, which is kind of nice. Then you can actually get a hotel room every now and then. So I hope that this answered a little bit of your question about how much money you can make. In general, you can make probably minimum with a little bit of effort, you can probably make 20, 25,000. With some effort, you can hit around 30 to 35,000. And if you do a lot of effort, I'm going to bet you can hit around 50 to maybe even 65,000 if you really, really try hard. Hope that answered questions. And I will have a Q&A at the end of all of this. So the next question I get a lot of, what kind of training do they have? Well, this again will depend on the company. The company, they each have their own training. When I did Horizon, we had a day of safety training and then a half a day of like training on and learning the system, the Horizon, and how they do things. But the safety training is the biggest thing. But they did not actually take us out. Well, yes, they did take it. During an interview process, like day one of training, we went out in a 25-foot motorhome and we just drove around a few blocks just to make sure that we knew what the heck we were doing and that we weren't going to crash their units. So that was kind of the most training, as in on the job in a car or in a unit training that you are actually going to get. That's about it. Now they will do safety training and they will teach you how to do the logbooks. If you're brand new at that, you're definitely going to want to pay attention to the logbooks because it change and keep in mind that changes all the time. It's a pain. I think Horizon. Back a year and a half ago, Horizon made it so that Driveaway had to use electronic logs, so you had to have a laptop, and you still do. I've heard that you still have to have a laptop, and the reason being is that, number one, you have to do your logbook on it, and number two, they actually have the board online, and they actually have their own app now, where you have to, you can check out your board, your runs, and you can actually then call your dispatcher, but if you're actually at a certain level, you can actually dispatch yourself, but you have to be a pretty good level for that. I never got to that level. So again, what kind of training is there? It varies. Everybody has some sort of safety training, I would hope, and some kind of logbook training. Some of them may even have a little bit of drive training, but I'm not really going to count on that. The next question that I've gotten, this one I've gotten quite a bit lately, so we're just going to go straight into it. Are there age restrictions? Well, there's always a minimum age. Obviously, a 4-year-old can't drive a motorhome, but you can't even be 18. I think the minimum age is around 21 to 24, maybe, in that range, again, depending on company. I know that for Bennett, you actually have to have 6 months, at least the last time I checked, you have to have 6 months of on-the-road experience as a Driveaway driver before they even consider hiring you. So there's kind of an age thing there because you have to have been at least doing this for someone else for a while. As far as maximum age, I don't think they have a maximum age as long as you can pass a physical, or I don't even know if that's a possibility, as long as you are walking and talking and you're not blind, because that would be a problem. But as long as you have decent physical capabilities, you can get in and out of the motorhome without a problem, and this and that. That's really not a problem. I know there's a lot of retired people that do this job, and they love it because they get to travel. Now, you're not going to get to travel everywhere you want to go. Okay, that's just not going to happen because you will be able to travel, but you're not going to say, hey, today I want to go to Florida. Well, so does it 15 other people or 50 other people. Hey, today I want a nice long 2,000-mile trip. Hey, so does 15,000 other people. So you get to do the long and the short and all of that. Now, these are about all of the questions that I have. I get some stuff like, where do I sleep? Well, you sleep in the motorhome. You are not allowed to sleep on the bed or the couch or anything else. You're supposed to sleep on the floor. I'm going to tell you a little secret, and this may get me in trouble. I hope not. I'd have a sleeping bag with me at all times, and I would sleep sometimes. If I had a Class C, I would sleep on the bunk above the cab, and I would always sleep on top or inside my sleeping bag. I would not be touching anything of theirs. And I would do the same if I had a bed. I'd sleep in that if the couch was too short, but most of the time I'd sleep in the couch or the bed over the cab. So what I do see is I see that we have some people watching, and if you do have any questions that I have not answered yet, I would love to hear them. Let me see. I got to move that. So now we're in the Q&A part. See the Q&A? Look, oops. I can't. That's hard to do, by the way. It's way over there. Up. See Q&A. Anyway. So, if you have any questions that I have not already answered, go ahead and ask me right now. I would be more than happy to answer the questions. We've had a lot of good conversations in these live streams. If you don't have any questions, then you don't have any questions. I will survive. That means I did a great job and I answered everybody's question perfectly. I'm pretty sure it's not it. I'm pretty sure there's something I haven't thought of. Oh, there is a question. Oh, I can't hardly read that, so I'm going to have to go over here to read that. Where's my question? Just a second. There we go. What is your take on how to minimize deadhead? Great question. How to minimize deadhead. To minimize deadhead, you'll work for more than one company. Easily. You want to work for at least Horizon, maybe Synergy. You want to work for Quality, Bennett. Because what you want to do is, the more options you have, the better. Now first, like let's say you have a favorite company you like to work for, okay? You work for them, you tell your dispatcher, they kind of know where you're going anyway. Say, hey, I'm going out to, Oklahoma City. Is there anything in Oklahoma City I can pick up, or near there, or whatever? After a while, you'll get a little rhythm going, and your dispatcher will work with you really, really well. I did that with my dispatcher, and he worked very well with me. When I had my CDL, I was busy all the time. Now, that's where you're going to make better money, because minimizing your deadhead, obviously, is minimizing your downtime, minimizing your I'm not making money time. And the more deadhead you have, the more expensive it can get. But yeah, minimizing it by working for as many companies as you legally can. I wouldn't, 2 or 3 most. I mean, I've heard some people working for more than 3, but that's not really necessary. Okay, but yeah, just work for some companies and work with them. If you work for, let's say, Synergy, and they say, well, we don't have anything in Oklahoma City, but keep us in mind. And then you call the other company you work for, say, hey, I'm going to Oklahoma City. I'll be there in 2 days. What do you got coming up? Maybe they have something. But just keep in mind, you got to keep your logbooks in check. You want to keep your logbooks in check. Actually, I'm going to get rid of this for a second because that's kind of misleading here. So we're going to go yeah, we're just going to leave it. Let's see, what am I going to put in? Let's try to put some in there. Hang on, how do I do this? Here's another one. Hey, Mike, how are you? Second, let me do this. Q&A. There. Mike, hey, no problem. Hey, we got 2 mics. Or MK. MWK. What's a typical mileage rate for a trip, say, to Florida or Texas? Are the companies quick to update rates with fuel price fluctuations? Another great question. That's awesome. I'm MWK, and I saw that you subscribed to me. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Typical mileage rate. It does change because they are pretty quick to adjust. Like if like in the summer, sometimes gas prices will jack way up, so they already start raising the rates, and the RV companies already know this, so they're gonna adjust as they go. And my nose is itchy again. Okay. It happens every day, right? So yes, they do keep the fluctuations, and they make sure that the cost of living and the cost of fuel, they don't want you to go broke. They want you to be happy. And at least most companies do. The companies I've worked for, they want you to be happy, and how to make you happy is to pay you money. Sometimes they can't do it, but the better, if they can, they do. I hope. At least that's my personal opinion. But yes, they do keep in line with the fluctuations of prices. That's always the fun part, right? This is not quite wide enough. Let's make that a little wider. Look at that. See, now we'll probably be able to read it. Thanks for asking the questions. And again, MWK, I appreciate the subscription. And Limo Driver Mike, okay, now I got a really good look at the name. So Limo Driver Mike, I've driven a limo twice. I don't like them. I would prefer to drive a 35 or 50 foot, 45 foot RV than a limo because I don't like the limos. I'm sure you can probably run circles around me in a limo easily. Got any more questions? I'd be more than happy to answer anything you guys got. How many? We got a few viewers. Oh, we got 12 viewers now. So, I live in North Carolina. It's possible that I could go another state and allow them to drive for them. Absolutely, Frederick. You can drive in any state that you want. I had an Alaska driver's license. I lived in Illinois, and I drove out of Indiana. They don't care as long as it's a valid driver's license and you are not a crazy man when you drive. Then you should be fine. Good driver's license, good, clean, decent record. It doesn't have to be perfectly clean. It just has to be a decent driving record. Okay, because I know that I don't think there's anybody that has as many drivers as they have, they don't have that many perfect driving records, right? So I hope that answered your question, Frederick. Yes, you can drive. And I know I met people from almost every state in the union that drove for multiple different companies. A lot of the companies are in Northwest Indiana. It's like a focused area. There are some in Iowa. There's some, I believe, down in Alabama, and maybe one or two. And there's some other types of Driveaway. Like they have some that will carry the stacked up semi-trucks, where you see a semi-truck on the back of a semi-truck on the back of a semi-truck, just the rig. Those, I believe, are in Texas. And from what I heard, I talked to one of the drivers many years ago. I've only met a couple of those drivers, and they get paid very well. So if you have a CDL and you got to have your multiple trailers license for that. And you can, if you have your hazmat, your multiples, and definitely if you get a CDL, you have to have air brakes. That's not even a question. But if you have your passenger endorsement, there's nothing you can't drive. Get hazmat. Did I say hazmat? I might have said hazmat. Yeah, I mean, again, you don't need your CDL, but if you have a CDL with all the endorsements, you are gold to them. They love you. What else do we have? Anything else? Frederick, I hope I answered your question. I think I did. Pretty sure I did. I think, is that about it for everybody? We got a few people here. We got about 13 people watching. That's actually pretty good for me. Go ahead and leave me another question. I'll give you a few more minutes, and I'll just sit here and babble for a second or two, and then we will go on to the end of the video. We don't need to string it along too long. I do hope everybody gets their questions answered, and of course, I know what's going to happen. I am going to get all done and everything, and 50,000 people have 70,000 different questions, right? Because that always happens. My goal of this video is to be able to, when I get those, do I need a CDL? Where do I sleep? What, all this stuff. When I get those questions, I can just send a link and say, go watch this video. That's my hopes. Because I've had that question in the last, I think, 2 weeks. I've had that, do I need a CDL question, probably, I don't know, 30 times. It feels like, probably more like 10, but it feels like 100. So I think we might actually be done. Sounds like it. So we're going to go ahead. Now, I don't know if you guys could hear the music. I put a touch of music in this just to do something different. But anyway, I guess I'll see when I do the replay. I usually do the quick replay. So if that is it for questions, I am going to head over. Now, just so you guys know, as I do the closing part here, if I see a question, I may answer it here, and I also may just go ahead and close out the video, but I will stay on the chat for just a little bit longer, and I will answer in the chat, okay? And the chat does go away after the video is posted, which kind of sucks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go over here to my end card. So see right here, if you like this video and you want other videos just like it, now and the live stream can't see this, but when I put it up, I'm going to have a little subscribe button right here in this general area. And I'm going to have some other videos over here so that you can check out too. Once again, this will be for the whole thing. Something cool, I've been starting to push this a little bit. I've got some merchandise, like some t-shirts, and I got some travel mugs and whatever else. And this Let's Go Road Trippin' Spreadshirt.com thing. Go ahead and get something if you want. Got my Twitter up here, my Facebook up here. Look at that, isn't that pretty cool? Anyway, so I think that that's all the questions I have. I will sit on the chat for about another couple minutes. If nobody has any questions, then I'm going to go ahead and head out. But I would like to say I want everybody to drive safe, and until next time, safe travels.